All right, so this is episode 1 of the Andrew and Flandria show, and this is a audio, what do you call it? I guess podcast interview with Wendi Sumner, and I was trying to think of someone that is the smartest person I know when it comes to business, and I think the best thing that works out, honestly, is talking to my aunt, because she's the person I think of when I think of something like this. Wendi, would you like to introduce yourself, please?
Sure. Well, Andrew, I call you AJ. AJ, I was going to say you made my day saying that. I really appreciate it. Yeah. So, give me the opportunity to be the first one on your podcast. And so as we go through the questions, I'm sure I'll share a little bit more about myself, but been self-employed and employed throughout my lifetime. And looking forward to sharing some more information as we go through.
Cool. And I have my wife here with me, Flandria. Would you like to introduce yourself?
Hi, I'm Flandria. The second half of this podcast here, host-wise.
She's here for more of enjoyment than anything else, really. And to definitely make me look good, because I have a hard time doing that on my own, I promise. So out of curiosity, when it comes to issues of life and business, what is it that that you find that is probably one of the biggest struggles, making those two worlds meet?
I think sometimes, when you have like a big goal in mind that you're working on in your business, and you also, have a family, it's definitely, I think, the balance of figuring out what your top priorities are and the amount of time that you need to split, between both the family and the business. So, one of the things I was just thinking about as we were talking about doing this podcast is, when I was in my direct sales business that I did for about 14 years, I think sometimes it would almost get where the balance was off. So focused on a goal, or even sometimes even more concerned about what somebody else thought about my achievements, that I worked, maybe more than what I needed to in some situations.
Yeah.
So I think it's just kind of finding out, what your priorities are, figuring that out, and, really balancing out the time that you've got with your family versus the time with your business. And you really have to balance it. You can't do really, 100% and drop the other on either end to have either a successful home life or a successful business.
Yeah, I completely agree. That's definitely a wild thing, because the society and the world that we live in really does not stress or teach that in any way, shape, and form. They really want you to give it all in to that one thing and not really share that burden across the board, because the unfortunate thing is, when we try to have our entire cup filled up with just one thing, all the other cups that we have that need our attention are literally empty.
Right.
That's one of the things that, as we were talking about before this, having family businesses, and that's the one thing that I've always witnessed across the board, was seeing that where all the attention went and where it needed to be was never in the same place.
Right. And at the end of the day, your family is the most important thing, because business comes and goes, money comes and goes. But, your family is the most important, and usually what you're doing is for your family. So really, again, just finding that balance and making sure that you don't neglect one for the other.
Yeah, absolutely.
Well, I was wondering, you said you've been in both worlds, having your own business, and then also, having, being an employee. So I would want to know, I guess, which side do you prefer? Do you prefer having your own business, where you're self-employed, or would you rather, just be an employee and show up and
Yeah, that's a great question, Flandria. And I honestly have to say there's good and bad, I think, to both. And I think it depends on what phase in your life that you're in.
Mhm.
Like when I first started with my direct sales business, I had actually just had my youngest child. He was 18 months old. And my older one was 6. And I found that I was working a lot of hours. It was kind of a high stress position. And I felt like I had no time with my kids. So at that time, I felt like I wanted to, work from home and build a business where I could have more flexibility with my schedule. And it was great. I enjoyed it. And then now I think at this point in my life, because now I'm actually back employed, still doing sales, but I'm employed. And what I'm loving about it now is the level of position that I'm in. I don't have like all the stress. When I'm done at the end of the day, I'm done. And there's some extra benefits. My kids are bigger now. They're, 19 and 24. So I think just as your life changes and, what you need for your family changes, there's good in both.
Yeah.
Really.
That's a really big change, because I remember seeing a lot of that whenever I was a lot younger, and seeing every time we'd come down and visit, and always see that a lot of your time was always tied up with being self-employed, or doing that sales business. And it was always remarkable, because you could always visibly see that you really enjoyed that type of work. But the other side of that was, you could also see that where the stress was as well too.
Exactly. Yeah. I think it got to the point, and of course, it seems like anything I do, I always like give it 110%, because that I think is just my personality. But you kind of do get to the point where it is a little bit hard to balance, because I even remember when you guys would come down, and if, we were out of town doing an event, or I always felt like I had to be working or I wasn't making money. And it was just like in the back of my mind, it was hard to stop and relax and actually be off.
Oh, yeah.
And now I have that balance for sure.
Yeah. Yeah, it's I think that kind of runs in the family, the whole burning the candle at both ends.
Yeah.
That's something that, I struggle with myself. Is whenever I do want to throw myself at something, I throw it so hard that when I do get burned out, it's like a literal rocket that just ran out of fuel, and it just drops.
You're like, okay, I'm done now.
Yeah. I feel like a 2-year-old that just figured out they don't like this anymore.
Yeah. And I think it's important to schedule time for yourself, because you can get so busy with everything working, and it's like really, take a little time a day here and there, or half a day here and there, and, just do something for yourself where you're not working, and just, take that time that you need to recoup.
Yeah. So I do have a curious question, because it's something that I've always been really curious about when it comes to business in general. And you always think about, like, you have the Elon Musk, the Steve Jobs and everything, but the main question I'd always really love to ask is, at what age and how did you come to the conclusion that that's what you wanted to be doing in business? Or was it just a matter of, kind of finding that, working towards it, and then finally achieving it? Or is it just like making a decision way beforehand and be like, that's going to be it, and I'm going to be working towards that constantly?
You want to include that, but when I started my direct sales business at 37, it was basically because I was wanting more time with my family. And I definitely was always independent, where I wanted to earn my own money. That was always really important to me. But I had actually been in the business previously. So, in my early 20s, I had started and was successful at that point, as well, had earned a couple of the cars, and, worked it. So I think just sometimes life changes, different things, circumstances in your life, and, kind of figuring out what you do want to do. And I think one important thing is, don't be scared to take a risk. It's not the end of the world. If it works out for you, great. If not, life keeps moving on, and you're going to have other opportunities. So I think sometimes people get stuck in a situation and they're scared to make a change.
Yeah.
And I think take a risk, and if you've got something on your heart that you want to do and try, do it. You only live once. I say, give it a try. And again, if it doesn't work out, it's not the end of the world.
Yeah. I mean, that totally makes sense, because the irritating part that I think a lot of youth is not realizing yet, and they will, that this world really doesn't care. And it will literally, and it will always continue to go on whether you do it or not.
Right. And people have opinions. That's one thing that I always found. I think
man.
one thing to be successful in what you do have to get to the point where you have to have thick skin and where you care about other people, and what their opinion is, but their opinion isn't going to make or break you. Because some people are going to be supportive and think what you're doing is awesome. And other people are going to question you and make you, feel like you're having to explain yourself. And, a lot of times what I did find too, when people would question you like that, it was typically because they had a lack of confidence in themselves. And they were kind of questioning, could I do this? And so instead of coming out and asking you that question, they would question you, as to why you do what you do, kind of maybe trying to picture themselves doing it, but not coming out and asking directly.
Wow, that's really good. That's a great psychological question and answer, man. I wasn't expecting that. That's really good.
Yeah.
That's self-mirroring.
Because I think it's easy when people ask you questions like that to start questioning yourself and maybe feel a little bit less, confident. But again, everybody comes into a situation with a preconceived, idea or maybe things that they've gone through in their life that, makes them feel like they can't achieve or that they're not going to be successful. And I just think those doubts sometimes come in and they might have the attitude like they know everything. But, again, a lot of people just maybe come to that conversation feeling some doubt. And when they question you, I really think they're just kind of thinking of themselves a lot of times and just wondering, if I tried this, would I be successful?
Yeah. That's really good.
Well, so I was going to ask, just coming from the perspective of Andrew and I, like trying to navigate our way through, direct sales as well. What is it? I mean, do you think it was ingrained in your personality to be able to talk to people and interact and sell, products to them? Do you think it's a natural trait you have to have? Because personally, myself, like to me, it doesn't. I can tell somebody about something that I like and I'm using. That's one thing, but to actually like seek people out and in an effort to introduce them to this product or this new opportunity, like I find it difficult for myself. So do you feel like you have to have that type of personality, or do you think it's just something that you just have to build up and just do? Did it come more naturally to you?
That's a great question. As I was building my business, it was very important to meet new people all the time. So you would think of different ways, to get leads from people, but I did go out a lot and just met people out and about. And I do have to say that was definitely outside of my comfort zone. But I think over a period of time, if you know what your goal is and you're excited about it, you believe in the product that you have, it's really connecting with people, building relationships with people, just in general conversation. If I saw somebody and I thought, oh my gosh, I love her hair, I love her makeup, love her outfit or whatever, I would just generally compliment people, when I was out and about. And if they, if they responded back and they seemed friendly, then, that natural conversation kind of started. And then I would go in with, telling them I would love to get their opinion of my product and give them a card or maybe a gift certificate for trying it out. But it's not comfortable, I would say, doing that. And I don't know, obviously probably having an outgoing personality is kind of leads into an easier conversation doing that, but it's a skill that I think anybody can learn. And you do have to get to the point too, that again, that thick skin, you can't let the nose worry you, and you have to just work the numbers. So if you have, say you're doing an event, you got 10 people saying they're coming. I mean, you got to know that 10 people are not going to show up. Probably 2 or 3 out of that 10 would show up, and that's just normal. And you just can't take it personal. You just kind of have to know the numbers, and you have to work as many numbers as you need to get the results that you want.
Right.
Man, you're just like
our question is, can you do our business for us?
Yeah.
We will give you a portion.
I know. I might now.
We get a portion.
Well, yeah, you get most of it. We'll just get
Man.
Oh my gosh, you two are funny. Maybe down the road I might do a direct sales business again. We will see.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Yeah, it's
when
Yeah.
I retire. Yeah, I was gonna say I'll probably do one or the other.
I mean, it's the same stuff that we're
That's-
learning and we know, but it's just,
It's so wild.
Mhm.
I think the biggest obstacle I would say for myself is getting out there, and I just find it's not organic to me when you're walking
Yeah.
to Target
Yes.
and you're like,
It's one thing to go out and say, hey, go to Target and buy this thing versus, hey, you want to buy this from me?
yeah, or
Right.
how are you today? You know, what do you know, just starting up random conversations with people. It's just, you know, do you think there's a secret to selling products? Or
Well, I think the market has changed a lot too, you know, because a lot of people do, from my understanding, direct sales online now. So I would go to whoever you got in your business and that's doing well. You want to always take feedback from someone who's doing good. In fact, one of the things I think I heard said was never take advice from somebody that you wouldn't trade places with. So if you've got somebody in your business that's excelling, I would really plug into their training and find out what they're doing, and maybe even have that person that's who you're accountable to. Accountability makes a big difference too, versus just yourself.
yeah, that is.
Man.
It's uncomfortable.
That's one of the reasons why we want to start this podcast was the objective, my personal main objective. And I remember this in the military was getting comfortable being uncomfortable.
Yeah. That is the truth.
And that was definitely the biggest thing, because when it came to things like shooting weapons, it wasn't just a matter of just having a range day. The range days always happened, especially whenever, you know, before you actually get to your actual unit, you're shooting almost every day for the most part. And when they schedule it, and if it was raining, guess what? You went out and shot. If it was snowing, guess what? We went out and shot. If it was, you know, a sunny day, guess what? We went out and shot. But the most important thing that I think I really learned from that was they expected you to be in the exact same position regardless of the weather. And it really was reinforcing the being comfortable in the uncomfortable.
Right. That's, yeah, every time you say something, it brings up a new memory for me. But, you know, it's true. You know, when you've got a goal that you're working on, life is going to happen. And I just remember it was the end of the month. We were wrapping up a big goal. And of course, you had until the, you know, midnight at the end of the month. And my grandmother actually passed away, and we went to her funeral that day. It was the last day of the month. So I went to her funeral, spent time with family. And then after all of that, you know, I went and met with the people that I was working with, and we wrapped up the month. So yeah, I mean, and a lot of people don't have that mentality. They're like, no, I've got to take the day off. My grandmother died. I can't, you know, I can't handle it. But, you know, if you've got a farm and you've got farm animals, no matter what's going on, they have to be fed.
Yeah, that
you
totally
know,
makes sense.
Yeah.
That's really good.
What?
Sounds like your actual calling could be like a mentor, man. Like you're just.
Well, I did that for a while.
That sounds wild,
Yep.
but I mean, that's just, yeah, I feel like a private talking to a general.
Oh, no, you're so funny. But it's just true though. I mean, it's like you kind of learn along the way. You know, some people are going to make excuses. They're going to say they're going to do something and they're not ever going to do it. Some people say they're going to do it and they actually will, but those are few and far between.
Yeah.
And you just have to, again, work those numbers. And if you work with somebody again within your business that is doing extremely well, they can definitely share, you know, the numbers, what you have to work through, and to get the results that you want. Because I think sometimes it's like you think, well, I've got 3 or 4 people lined up over here and they're going to do it, la, 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 la. And more than likely, all of them are going to fall through and not do it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. That's seeing a lot of that too.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, I've met quite a few people, and I mean, I still have their phone number saved in my phone, and quite a few of them, actually, all of those people that I'm referring to, not one of them has responded to a text message.
Right. How many people are you working with?
Right now, it's in our group. There's quite a few, but the people that we would be able to bring in and work with them right now, we don't have anybody.
Mm-hmm.
So, it's really just Flange and I doing a lot of learning.
Right.
And because of,
and we've kind of taken our foot off the gas.
yeah, that's probably an apt description, because of the simple fact of, you know, we really have, but we really need to not do that, mainly because of, I I really don't want to have just one thing of income and that be the only thing. And,
Mm-hmm.
as much as I enjoy having something as simple as, insurance, I don't want to have just one piece of income and say, hey man, I'm secured, and knowing in the back of my mind that's a bunch of crap.
Right.
So
Right. So it sounds like you decide what your goals are, and even though you may be doing something else, you just have to keep plugging in and doing something for your business, either every day or every week, depending on what your goals are.
yeah. What were you gonna ask, Linda?
I was gonna ask, do you feel, when you were doing direct sales that that the business was more of an investment at first than it, was profitable? And if so, how did you get past that hump? Because that could be hard too when your goal is to have a second stream of income in or whatever,
Mm-hmm.
but then you're finding that you're having to put money in more than what you're getting out at first. Like,
Right. And that any business that you start, usually it's going to take years before you see any kind of return on your investment. So that is pretty typical. There's always some expenses involved. So the important thing on that is not to invest and then not put in the proper effort to bring that return in.
Yeah, so basically what you're saying is invest, invest, invest.
invest, and then also work. Like, you gotta.
Yeah, you've got to do the work. I mean, because you can invest in your business, invest in training and all that. But if you put it in a drawer and you don't do anything with it, then you've just wasted money.
Yeah. That totally makes sense. I guess one of the other things would be failures and overcomings or anything that would set back. So what would be the what would be the one thing that you say that you'd point at and say that was definitely the hardest thing that I've ever had to overcome, and I would be able to do that?
I thought about that when I saw that as one of the questions. And really, for me, I'm very relational with people and I care a lot about people. But I think sometimes, and again, just depending on what they bring to the table, they may not realize that. I remember one person I was working with, helping get her business started. We got a new person started under her, and I met with that person and helped them get started. It was the end of the month. And, I'm not naming any names or anything, but yeah. So the person that initially got started actually saw that as me trying to hinder her following month's business. So I guess the bottom line is, like, when you're helping people, you're doing it to like help them get started out of the goodness of your heart. You don't know how, like, what you say or what you do will impact other people because you don't know what their perception is. So you are just do the best you can. As I'm going to say, care about people, do the best you can, help them build, the way they should, to the best of your knowledge. And you can't control what they think. So some people are going to love you and think you're awesome, and some people are not going to love you, and you can't control that. But what you can control is your intentions, and that's it. And sometimes you just have to let certain people go.
That's good.
So what was I guess when you decided to get out of direct sales, what was there, like a last straw that you had, or was it just something that, did you lose interest along the way? What,
I think she just got to the point where she was dominating everything and there's no competition.
I don't know about that part. I still had a ways I could have gone. I think it got to the point, honestly, it got to the point where I was spending every waking hour doing what I was doing. And it just honestly became a little bit like overwhelming. There are certain things that I miss about it, but I do like the freedom that I have now more with my time.
Oh, there was one thing I did want to ask because I completely forgot to write. So way back when before technology was ever really technology, you worked for GTE, right?
I did.
Yeah, I wanted to ask you about that. Because I know my mom always told me some details as far as how well you were doing there, but I really don't remember that. And for some reason, I don't know why I have it stuck in my head that you were like the top sales manager there. But yeah.
That is pretty much, yeah, because I started, probably on the phone and then worked my way up over the years. And before I left, that was actually when I had, Joshua.
Yeah.
I was a manager over a financial services team. So I had a lot of responsibility, a lot of stress. And I'll just tell you the story. This is kind of what changed my mind and what I wanted to do, because I was actually pregnant with Josh. Probably just kind of right there at the beginning, hadn't told anybody yet that I was expecting. And we had to go into work on a Saturday morning. There was like $1 million coming down the line that was going to have to be written off. And we were trying to research and find where it was coming from, how to stop it. And obviously that was pretty stressful.
Man.
So I remember on the way in that morning, it was me and then probably like 7 or 8 of the supervisors that I had. I got a little breakfast sandwich on the way in, and I think I had one bite of it all day long. And it was probably 6 or 7 o'clock that evening. And I thought, oh my gosh, I've had nothing to eat all day. I think all I had was that one bite, just because it was so stressful with what we were doing. And I just decided, I'm not doing this to myself, and I'm not doing this to my child. So that's kind of when it was a turning point for me. Yeah.
Man, that sounds almost insane, really.
That position was fairly stressful. So
Yeah.
That sounds like it.
Man.
yes.
Yeah, technology is wild, because I remember, I think if I remember correctly, at my parents' house, you could in the cabinet should still be one of the brick phones, that really big one that you'd see that's like almost like a literal brick.
Oh, I know exactly what you're talking about. Yeah, we had the brick phones, we had the bag phones. I actually had a bag phone. It was very nice. It looked like a little suitcase that you carried around.
As we're talking on these things that are almost paper.
You're telling everybody my age here, AJ. Yeah.
No, absolutely not. I'd never do that. Never ever do that.
That's
yeah. Yeah. So as far as speaking about time and being able to, control something like that, if you could go back and, change anything, do anything over, or is there anything that
Or differently.
that you would do differently, knowing what you know now?
I guess I have to say not really, because I think life is full of options and choices, and you try things out. If you like it and you want to continue doing it, you do. If you don't, you learn from it, you move on. We all make mistakes. I think, don't hold those mistakes against yourself, because everybody makes them, learn from them, and, keep going. So I don't know that I would really change anything at this point. I know I think about that sometimes. Had I either stayed with the direct sales company or had stayed with that original job, but I think there's good things that come out of every choice that we make. And I honestly think it's very important to pray about it. And I think God will direct your path.
Yeah, absolutely. Man, that's one of those things that it's a really undescribable experience whenever it comes to having faith and knowing that it hits everyone completely differently. Not one person's experience will be the same as the next. And I know, speaking for myself, even just speaking as far as my own personal experiences, I know that I have seen way too much for me to even fathom the idea that can't not exist.
Right.
It's just it's way too much, and I really don't believe in coincidences. And the one that kind of really sticks out in my mind, because it's honestly the most recent, was when I came back from Afghanistan the first time. And this is it shouldn't have happened, but I played a little small joke on my parents. I told them that I was going to be super late, and they abandoned us at the airport, which was the Atlanta airport, and that wasn't entirely true. We had the option of having people come pick us up and whatnot, but we ended up we actually literally did end up hijacking a school bus from the airport. True story on that one. And I wish I was kidding. And we got dropped off at my parents' house, and that happened on that happened on Valentine's Day. And as we were sitting at the couch, an earthquake hit in Augusta, Georgia. And probably one of the wildest experiences is sitting at home. And I had just come from an atmosphere of artillery fire. Like we were sleeping next to the howitzers, and it would just go off and everything would shake. And I'm at home and we're sitting on the couch and the ground is shaking, and instantly in my mind is like, this is impossible. Like literally this is impossible. And that earthquake hit, and it was timed at 10:23. And that's my birthday, is 10:20.
Oh my gosh. Yeah.
That's something that I'll never forget. And I know my birthday isn't the only one at 10:23, but I really don't believe in coincidences. I honestly believe that a prayer was answered that day.
So what do you think? So tell me what the significance of that was for you.
Being overseas, there was not a time that I ever felt at danger. I never honestly felt as if my life was in danger. Granted, I have a plethora of examples of times where I could see on the camera where I was standing just a few minutes ago, and you could see where the rounds are hitting right where I was standing within just a few minutes difference. And that's almost impossible.
Wow.
Things like that shouldn't have happened. And examples, all day long. And but like I said, I never felt like I was actually in danger. It was obvious that nothing was ever going to happen. Like I may as well have been home. That kind of safety.
You were protected.
Yeah, and there's no way that's by accident at all.
Right. Wow. I didn't realize that with the earthquake and the time.
Yeah, that's wild. My mom figured that one out. She was a few days later or something like that, or a month, something like that. They were actually talking about that at her school, and they referenced it when they showed the logged time, and the logged time is 10:23 p.m.
Wow.
Yeah, it's pretty wild.
The earth shook.
Yeah. I've lived in Augusta pretty much my entire life, and I don't think I remember an earthquake being here.
Oh, me, yeah. I don't think I've ever heard of one being there.
I guess we have time for probably one last question.
Okay.
So probably the easiest, most direct way is, who is it that you look up to, and why? Why is it that you look up to them? What is it about them that that you find that they're worthy of that?
Oh, that's an easy one. Probably my grandfather. I had great grandfathers on both sides, but the one I'm thinking of right now is your mom's grandfather on my mom's side. So Papa was what we called him. His name was Otha, but he was a rock in our family. He had crippling arthritis, and he pretty much came into our lives, more when our dad left, and just was always there for us. I always just admired him and respected him. He was a hard worker. He wasn't born into a lot of money, and he worked. I always wanted to have him respect my work ethic. And I think that might be one of the reasons why, I work hard, because I always just wanted him to be proud of what I did. But he was a great guy. He was a Christian, raised his family, of course, not perfect. None of us are, but definitely was just one person I could always count on.
That's really good. Yeah, I was actually kind of expecting something like a not a celebrity, but not so close to home either.
Yeah.
That's really good, because I don't really ever hear anything about them, honestly, because you guys definitely knew them way better Me and my sister did. That's for sure. I mean, it didn't help that
Right.
we were, almost infants.
Oh, I know it. Yeah, because he passed away in 87.
Yeah, I was like 2.
Yeah. So you would not remember. He was an awesome guy for sure.
Yeah, I hear you and my mom talk about him constantly, pretty much.
Yeah. He made a difference in my life for sure. I'll tell you that story on a side note one day.
Okay. Yeah, good.
Yep.
Man, yeah, that's pretty crazy. You have anything to ask, Landra?
No, I can think of. I think we pretty much covered.
Yeah.
Everything.
Is there anything that you want to ask, Wendi?
Well, I was going to say you can share maybe like kind of what your plans are for your family and your business and, what you're wanting to achieve through the podcast and your business.
I'd like to achieve as much learning as possible, but not just for me, but for anybody else that listens or watches. Mostly because of there is a lot of information out there, but also being able to find the right kind of information.
Mm-hmm.
That I think that's something that is really important, mainly because of how I grew up, growing up with a learning disability, and I really wish I could exaggerate saying that I was never able to read a book until much, much later. And what I mean, by
Mm-hmm.
that, I'm talking about like comprehend, not just look at it and
Right.
understand the value of it, because you're sitting in class and everyone else can do it, and you're the person that's literally not, you're not making D's, you're making F's. That was me. And the excuse was always being told that you're just not trying hard enough, and there's no understanding of what's going on inside the brain until you actually see it. And that really changed everything for me. And knowing what the right kind of information can do for someone is literally world changing. And goal for our family. I know that I will never be able to walk on water. I also know that I'll probably never be the best father in the world, but I definitely want to do the best I possibly can. Mostly because of I know the value of what happens when we screw up, and I also know what happens whenever you spend your entire life thinking that you're doing something wrong and don't ever really know it until it's much, 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 much later. So I really would like to help raise our son to be the best person he can be, whether it's being the best construction person, being the best heart surgeon, or even if he wants to be the president of the United States. That'd be amazing.
That's awesome. Well, I would just say closing out, we all have to give ourselves grace, because I think sometimes we're harder on ourselves than we are on other people. And the self-talk is really important. When you tell yourself, I either can or I can't, or I'm smart or I'm not, it really makes a difference in how you talk to yourself. But I think you're amazing. And I think you're going to be a wonderful dad. And I'm not just saying that here, but I know you have a big heart for people. And you're going to take everything that you've experienced in your life and you're going to pull all the good things out and you're going to put those into your family. I know that.
Thank you.
You are welcome.
Andrea.
I love you.
I love you too. Yeah, that's literally the reason why I married Flanders. She's a much better person than I have been. That's for sure.
Oh, she's a pretty awesome gal. I'm glad we have her in our family.
Oh, thank you. Y'all are great too.
Well, thank you so much for coming on.
Yes, thank you.
Thank you for answering every single question that we've thrown at you, and being absolutely forthright with every piece of information without any kind of coercion. And I guess until next time, or until we see each other again.
All right. Well, my pleasure. And I look forward to hearing